All right, guys, welcome back. This Saturday's a great card. Awesome fucking prelims, a great main card. I told you guys Gilbert Burns was a killer. If you guys are not listening to this show, you should start listening now because I've been talking about Gilbert Burns for a very, very long time. He's been on the show multiple times. Casey Kinney, our good friend that was on this show, had another amazing performance this week. Before we get into this week's amazing performances, because there was multiple that we're going to discuss this past week, I want to talk to you about John Jones. The light heavyweight champion has been making huge, huge headlines here lately. One, he was actually out in his, native Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he was stopping people who were vandalizing, stopping people that were trying to start the riots. He was trying to, play peacemaker. So hats off to John Jones for that. He doesn't get kudos from us, especially from you and I, a whole hell of a lot. But this time I am going to give him his kudos, because they are due. He's doing what other people should be doing for their cities, and he's doing it for absolutely nothing. Now, the other important headlines that he's been making is he's saying that he's done with the UFC at this point, that they're not paying him what he deserves. And he, as in so many words, has said that he straight relinquishes the title. Wally Wall, what do you make of this entire situation?
Uh, First of all, let's talk about the first issue, which is not really an issue. It's something that we should, give him some applaud about that. We need to applaud him for what he's doing right now, going on the street, helping his city. That's great. Like he's sending a good example, and that's something John Jones doesn't do very often. Let's not shit about him. Maybe this is the first time we will not shit about John Jones. He's doing something great. I believe something that a lot of people have the balls to do, but he's doing it right now. Like imagine if you're out.
Has also been out in Huntington Beach doing the same thing. I mean, huge names especially in the light heavyweight division, just legends.
Yeah,
two arguably of the greatest light heavyweight champions doing what they can to try to keep the peace here in America. Because as you know, we talked about it a little last week, the killing of a completely unarmed black man yet again, this time in Minnesota. George did not deserve to go out like that. It's an unfortunate situation, and people are angry. And obviously, you have people that are going to protest. I mean, they protested the Rodney King beatings, almost 30 years ago, and they haven't learned anything since then. And I don't understand what it's going to take. It's a wild situation. But like I said, I applaud John Jones. I applaud Chuck Liddell and everyone else that's going out there to, take a stand and understand that protesting is the way to go, but there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it, and looting the stores is not the way to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when it comes for the vacating the UFC belts, all I think is just he's trying to negotiate with the UFC. This is what I think. I think at the end of the day, what John Jones wants, because for his last maybe 6 fights in his MMA career, he wants to make money. That's what he wants. He wants big fights and big pay-per-views. That's what he wants. So maybe the amount of money he's asking for isn't that realistic. But if you put him on a great card, like if you put him on a McGregor card, and if he accepts to be the co-main event in this type of card, maybe we can talk about this type of money, maybe.
It would be an interesting situation. I don't know if you could get John Jones to take a backseat to anybody in the UFC. Yeah. I think if there is one man that you could talk him into doing it for, it would be Conor McGregor. That's the only other option at this point, because I think he is the biggest draw, period. And I think if you're talking about who is the GOAT as the biggest draw, hands down, I mean, it's Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor has really changed the pay scale in the UFC completely. Guys used to not even make close to $1 million, and Conor has hit that out the park multiple times.
I really believe that his fight against Ngannou is the fight that he can make the most amount of money out of it.
See, I'm going to stop you right there. I think that's the second amount. I think a fight between him and current middleweight champion Israel Adesanya is the
Oh yeah, yeah,
biggest draw,
yeah,
especially when it just comes to the sheer rivalry. Those
yeah,
two have been going at it back and forth now for a better part of 6-7 months.
yeah,
So you build this up for another year. We talk about next July. We're talking next, when we could finally have fans back at arena, have the next international fight week, possibly in Raider Stadium, headlined by your former light heavyweight champion taking on your middleweight champion of the world.
yeah. But this will not be the next Adesanya fight. Adesanya wants to defend the
Oh
belt
no,
2 or 3
I
times,
believe
So
Adesanya will at least fight 3 more times this year.
yeah,
That's it. As soon as they figure out Fight Island, I think Adesanya and Kyle the first fight you.
yeah. He needs to fight against Paulo Costa before. There's some fight. There's some fights in that middleweight division, but that may be good because if he wins those fights, he will gain more popularity and he will gain more money. So then John Jones really can have that big payday. But
Yes.
yeah, but I'm not sure that this will happen like next year or whatever. Like when Adesanya is talking about it, he's talking about it in the future. So I don't know if it's a near future or is it far. So I'm not sure about that.
It'll be an interesting situation. We'll love to see that one play out. But as of now, we are going to recap last weekend's UFC Woodley versus Burns. I think it's, what is it, UFC Apex 1? I don't know what the fuck we're calling it, okay? We're just making shit up
Yeah,
at this point.
it's fight night.
We're making shit up at this point. It's fight night, something, 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 all right?
Yeah.
Now, to start off the night, Chris Gutierrez had an amazing performance against Vince Morales. He really showed that you could utilize the leg kicks perfectly. He damaged Vince Morales' left lead leg at the beginning of the fight, and as soon as Vince Morales switched up, so did Chris Gutierrez, and he started attacking the opposite lead leg. Now, at this point, I mean, Vince Morales was completely helpless out there, especially when it came to the later part of the second round when he did finish him. It looked like it was hard for Vince to even stand. It was a hell of a performance by Chris Gutierrez, and I would love to see him up against the strikers in that featherweight division. I think the kid's got a great future, and as he showed you, he is very versatile with his striking.
Yeah, I believe Gutierrez came up with the perfect game plan, and he didn't change it, even though the fighter, Vince Morales changed his stand, but he still kept on kicking those legs until, until he broke him. So
Yeah,
this is a
that's
good,
what exactly.
yeah.
He broke him.
So it was a great way to start the card, Start a card with a finish like that, it's always great.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting Gutierrez to go out there and put that type of performance on. And trust me, he opened my eyes on Saturday night. It was an amazing performance. Up next, though, Casey Kinney did not disappoint, getting a beautiful submission 3 minutes and 3 seconds into the first round against Louis Smolka. As him and I talked about, he planned on going out there and smoking Smolka and getting another fight here soon. So we might see if that comes to fruition. But for Casey Kinney, he bounced back from his first UFC loss, and he looked very, very good in this performance.
Yeah, against a well-rounded fighter like Luis Smolka, to have that first round finish like that, it's something big for Casey Kinney, and it was
really,
a flawless performance.
It elevates Kinney right back up into the 15 through 20 discussion. I think he's a higher part of that 15 through 22, probably like 15, 16. I would really love to see him up against the elite of the bantamweight division. You have to understand, when Casey Kinney came into the UFC, he was not a bantamweight. He has now been just filling his body out to be a bantamweight. So he is finally putting on that weight.
Yeah.
He looked a lot bigger, a lot faster, a lot stronger in the octagon on Saturday. I'd love to see him against some top flight talent.
When do you think we're going to see him next?
2-3 months, if that.
Yeah. Do you
6
think that
weeks.
maybe he will step up someone?
I don't think he was injured. I don't think he was injured at
Yeah,
all. He was
wasn't.
barely touched in that fight. Maybe took a couple shots. Outside of that, I could see him being ready in 6 months, unless there's something that we don't know.
In the next cards, if someone can't fight, do you think that he will step up?
Maybe not the next one. But I
Yeah,
could definitely see, like, if there's a card in about 3 weeks, you could see them giving him a ring for sure. I think just because of the Kevin Holland situation,
yeah,
where he was going to fight on one card, then he was going to fight on another, but then he didn't fight because he was injured. I just think that'll kind of shy the UFC away from doing something else like that.
yeah.
But I definitely think, like I said, 3 to 6 weeks is not out of the realm of, realistic when you come to Casey Kenny returning. Now, one man who made his UFC debut, Brandon Royval, had a huge performance against an elite flyweight in Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott has had nothing but tough fights since coming back to the UFC, looking amazing in every single one of his performances. But the young kid, Brandon Royval, came out there in the second round, 3 minutes and 18 seconds, got the submission. Tim Elliott in the first round really looked like he was going to control the fight and control and dictate the pace. Brandon Royval got that submission. The kid is slick. And he's definitely going to have a number next to his name later on this week. I'm excited to see what the future has for him.
Tim Elliott really felt weird because the arena was empty, because between the rounds you can hear him speak to his coach saying that it's too, like, there's no noise, there's so much silence. Do you think that maybe this didn't help him, because he was fired up in that first round, not having that crowd reaction to push you? Maybe did he slow down because of that?
Possibly. I mean, you've seen fighters, especially guys like Darren Elkins. Okay, when they get that rush from the crowd, you could tell it quote unquote hulks them up. That one for you.
It's something. Yeah, it's something. Something
you can tell. You know what I mean? Like it really works. These guys go out there and they just fucking put a killing on some people. It's definitely an interesting thing to look at. If some guys perform better with the crowd, some guys perform better without the crowd. I don't think we're going to get enough fights without the crowd to be able to judge that fairly, but I definitely think there's some merit to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it was a great, a huge second round for Brandon. He really looked good in that second round. When he turned everything up. Because he lost that first round. The way he turned everything up.
Now, like I told you, there was 4 amazing performances on this prelims. The next one caught the attention of amazing actress Halle Berry. She said what an amazing performance he put on. Mr. Jamel Hill had 2 knockdowns and a total of 14 strikes in 1 minute and 51 seconds of the entire fight, finishing Klidson Abreu with phenomenal form. I really think one day this could challenge John Jones.
Yeah, maybe, because you have the record. He is undefeated right now. You have the striking power. Because
for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, he didn't take any damage. Maybe we can see him fight again in a couple of weeks. Jamel Hill really looked amazing in this fight. Flawless victory. There's nothing negative to say about this performance.
Right now is definitely the best time for the fighters who are definitely willing to fight every other week, because the UFC is willing to use their guys right now because of the situation that we're in. I mean, I believe it was Ben Askren who said it earlier. The 145-pound, 155-pound, and 185-pound champion can't even leave their countries at this point in time to even come and fight. So until you actually get an infrastructure on Fight Island, there's no way to even defend any of those titles.
Yeah, exactly. And because the situation is weird right now, but you can still turn it to your advantage, being active, and when
look
we
at what
Gilbert
Burns has done.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about him a little later in the main event, but look at exactly what he's done, just capitalizing on every opportunity from the moment he beat Damian Maia and found out that Leon Edwards was not going to make it for this Woodley fight. He threw his name in the hat right away, not even knowing if it was going to come to fruition. This man has done this many, many times, and sometimes it never worked. Well, right now is a time where it's going to work more than often than not. And it really has catapulted him into this title picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Donald Cowboy Cerrone's protege, Daniel Rodriguez, gets the unanimous decision victory over his longtime regional rival, Gabe Green. And now these two were scheduled to fight on the regional circus, way back when, about 2-3 years ago. It never came to fruition because of injuries. Now these two finally fight each other on yet one of the biggest stages of them all. Crazy performance. I bet you there was a lot of animosity between the two going into it, and that's why I think we've seen the more of a sluggish performance by Daniel Rodriguez. It wasn't as crisp as we're used to. He has very clean striking. I don't think that we've seen enough of it on Saturday, and I would definitely love to see him run it back with somebody he doesn't have so much animosity with.
Maybe because he was his long-time rival, that's why it was too personal. But it's a good fight, We had a lot of, it was a brawl, so we can't say that it wasn't a good fight, Maybe it wasn't his best performance, but it was definitely a good fight.
Now, one amazing performance was Caitlin Kokajian, a not so impressive performance, and Tina Shevchenko kind of really went out there and fell flat on the situation where she could have capitalized and really, we talked about Burns capitalized and put herself right in the title picture up against her sister Valentina Shevchenko, younger sister, that is. I would like to thank you for that YouTube subscriber that pointed that out to us. Antonina is the older sister. Now, Antonina really could have catapulted herself, but it just seemed like she fell flat, especially when it came to the grappling. Caitlin Kokajian had the perfect game plan. Go in there and obviously don't kickbox with a kickboxer. Take her to the ground and put her in a world she's not used to.
Yeah. We said that maybe, Antonina will, because her sister already fought against Caitlin, maybe she would give her some advice. Maybe Caitlin was easier for her to fight against Antonina because she had that first-hand experience fighting against Valentina. We didn't talk a lot about that last week, but Caitlin really looked good. When you look at the stats, it's not even there's not even a debate if the decision was right. So.
Absolutely
and the fight,
not. Total strikes, Caitlin Kokajian landed 200 out of 240. That is 83%.
Yeah.
Antonina Shevchenko, 37 of 76 at 48.7%. Now, significant strikes, because that's a huge importance. Antonina threw a lot of significant strikes compared to her number of total strikes, 25 out of 64. But Caitlin Kokajian threw more significant strikes than Antonina threw strikes, period. And that was 79 out of 108 with a 67%. Now, the biggest focal point, like I said, was on the ground. 4 submission tips for Caitlin Kokajian. Obviously, all of them were stuffed by Antonina Shevchenko, but the 3 takedowns. You knew Caitlin was going to come in there and just grind you out. Yeah. How do you let 3 takedowns happen like that?
Yeah, I think that the pressure was too much because Caitlin came out wanting to kill, So yes. I don't think Antonina had any chance in this fight.
I think she thought it was Valentina across from her. She was trying to get some payback.
Yeah, maybe. And she's right. She needs to do that. If she wants that title fight again, that's what she needs to do.
Yes, and then I want to give you kudos real quick before we get on to this next fight, because you called the performance of this next young lady. In the opening bout of the main card of UFC Woodley versus Burns, Mackenzie Dern went in there, and in 2 minutes and 36 seconds, she submitted Hannah Cipher with what was the very first knee bar in the history of women's MMA inside of the UFC. Now, how did you see this performance going, and was it everything that you expected?
Maybe, I didn't know exactly what kind of Mackenzie Dern we're going to see, but I believe we saw the best kind of Mackenzie Dern we could have hoped for. There's no debate about her jiu-jitsu skills, she is the best jiu-jitsu artist in the female division. She is, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it would be hard to find anywhere. We're talking about pure jiu-jitsu. It would be hard to maybe you look at some of those Brazilians, but even then,
she's better than them. I really think that she's better than them.
I think that you might be right, but she has also shown us very, very improved striking, and I want to point that out because I don't think a lot of people are going to give Mackenzie Dern credit for her striking. It is a little wild. It's a little wild, like, UFC 250's co-main event headliner, Felice Spencer. Same style, but these two women can take you to the ground and finish you wherever they want. It got Mackenzie Dern an extra 50 G's, put on one hell of a performance for her. Like I've been saying, and I know she had the last hiccup in the first one in her professional career in her last fight. She fought Amanda Ribas, correct?
Yeah.
Now, that was right after she had just got done having her baby.
Yeah.
This is her second fight post-mortem. Now, I want to point out she hasn't missed weight, and she has looked very good making the strawweight limit both times. So I want to give her kudos for that, because I know a lot of people have been giving her shit. Like I've been saying, Mackenzie Dern has a bright future here. If the striking it continues to ascend like it has been, she could be dangerous one day down the road.
I really think that she is the Damian Maia of the female divisions, because if she worked her striking just enough so that she can every time grapple and take people to the ground, it will be very tough for the other females in her division.
Now, you say Damian Maia, but I don't. I think if you classify her striking as the same as Damian Maia's, it's almost a little bit of a slap in the face to Mackenzie Dern, because I think even at this point in time, Mackenzie Dern's current state of striking, she is better than the best that we've ever seen Damian Maia. And you agree with me, correct?
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just pointing out the fact that Damian Maia used his striking, just to take people to the ground, and that's what she needs to do every time.
I think she's going to be more like Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Oh, maybe
where
I can see that.
She has excellent grappling, top of the world grappling.
Yeah.
And her striking is getting better and better and better and better. I mean, there's no fluke. Khabib can box. I mean, he's shown it multiple times now. He's looked very, very good doing so. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously, I can't wait to see what the future has for Mackenzie Dern. But I think a top 15 strawweight is next for her. Another man who's going to be cracking the top 20 to 20 or 15 here soon. Roosevelt Roberts has an amazing performance against an upstart Brock Weaver with a second round submission 3 minutes and 26 seconds into that round. Now, with your do you think Roosevelt Roberts' performance was more a Roosevelt Roberts doing, or do you think that Brock Weaver missing weight played into his performance and his downfall on Saturday night?
I'm not sure about that. I saw a lot of fighters. We saw some fighters, missing weight and then not performing well. But we saw the opposites. Mackenzie Dern missed weight, I don't know how many times in her first fights in the UFC, and she won every time. So maybe I don't think it's that. I just think that Roberts was a better fighter in that night.
Roosevelt Roberts definitely looks like the more, how do I put this? He seems like the more refined fighter. He definitely has his skills honed a lot more than Brock Weaver. And he just doesn't put himself in the dangerous situation where Brock is willing to put himself in that firefight. I think Roberts is more of a calculated striker. And as you can tell, he's very slick on the ground. Yeah. Roosevelt Roberts has a very, very bright future in the UFC's lightweight division. I want to say he's only lost, once since being in the UFC?
Yeah.
That was to Vince Pichel. We actually had Vince Pichel on that week of that fight, so it's because he came on the show. That's probably why.
Exactly.
Now, what was next for us this week?
So we had Billy Quarantillo against Spike Carlisle. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I told everyone to watch that fight. I just want to point that out real quick. I fucking called it. I knew this fight was going to be amazing. It was easily the best fight of the night. Hell of a performance by Quarantillo. Did you see Carlisle almost get knocked out in the first round?
Yeah.
What the fuck was going on, bro? Why are you walking away? Especially, how the hell are you going to turn your back on such a dangerous fighter like Billy Quarantillo?
I don't know. I think things. I believe this thing happens, man. He went to decision, to be fair, but
Yes,
Billy, like, yeah,
he
it
rocked him
was
with
too
that
much.
shot.
Yeah, yeah, it was too. The fight went in
Spike
every. Yeah,
Spike
it was
Carlisle
mayhem.
starts faster than most people fucking have ever even thought of wanting to start. That
Yeah.
dude is like he's shot out of a rocket and he's just going strong for the first 5 minutes. I think, and obviously as we've seen on Saturday a little bit of that, that pace is just too much to keep up. If he honed it back just a fucking tad, like 15%, I think he would have an amazing pace that people wouldn't be able to hold on to for 15 minutes.
It's too hard to keep the pace. The let's be real. The only fighters that really keep the pace are the Kamaru Usmans and the
Yes.
Colby Covington against Robert Lawler, but he couldn't keep the pace against Usman. So you see the level of
Well, yeah, we
Usman,
knew that
the
was going to happen,
Habib,
though.
yeah,
We knew that was
the
going to happen.
Habib level. Like, but those are grapplers. It's hard to keep that pace when you try
The
to
wrestling
strike and
pace.
grapple. Yeah, you mix it up. It's not easy. So going 100% in the first round, it's for sure a game plan. But if you don't finish it, it will be tough for you in the second and third round.
Yes, for sure. Now, in the co-main event, Augusto Sakai really showed that he is here and he has made a huge statement back to back very, very top contenders in the heavyweight division. Blagoy Ivanov this time, Andre Arlovsky a couple months before. Now, Augusto Sakai, I mean, do you think at one point he might be able to reach the top of that heavyweight division?
Listen, he is in a division where two or three good fights, and you are right in the mix for talking about a title fight. Maybe not right now because you have DC and Stipe, but in the near future, yes. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that, and this will be kind of a rough question, but do you think that Blagoy was an overrated fighter?
Okay. I wouldn't say that he was overrated, but I want to say that he had a lot of hype of surrounding him because of the
Huge hype.
stabbing.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, he was stabbed in Bulgaria, I believe, his
Yeah.
native country, in his chest. You could see the huge scar on his chest. I think that gave him like this huge notoriety coming into the UFC. Everyone's like, "Oh shit, dude! Like that dude got stabbed in the chest. Ain't no one gonna beat him. Like he's fucking crazy."
Yeah.
And I think people just kind of like took that and ran with it. And I think people put the expectations way too high for Blagoy Ivanov.
Do you think that maybe people thought that he will be the next big thing because he trained at AKA and maybe people miss Cain Velasquez, so they thought, oh, listen, look, he looks a little bit like him, so maybe he's the next Cain
Yeah, just
Velasquez.
can't wrestle like him.
Yeah, he's just not the same. Listen, there's no two Cain in this world. There's only one Cain, and
No, I
Blagoy
mean,
is a good fighter,
we're talking
but
about, being a great wrestler. He only had one takedown out of 3 attempts.
yeah.
Significant strikes, Sakai landed 78 out of 161 and 89 total strikes out of 174. Completely outpunched Blagoy Ivanov in both categories almost by 20.
Hey, listen, I believe the word didn't learn from Lyoto Machida. Those Japanese, Brazilian that we don't even know where are they from, they are dangerous because they have that Brazilian culture and the Japanese culture.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I believe we forgot about those kind of dude. Sakai may be like the dark horse of this division right now.
Yeah, you never know. I really think the sky is the limits for him. The young man is in a old man's division and could
Yeah.
really, really set this thing ablaze.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in the main event, I want to talk about our good friend Gilberto Burns here for a second. What an amazing performance that he put on. Outstanding. I knew it was going to happen. I had a smidge of a fucking doubt, though, when he walked out there and they looked each other in the eyes. When at first, it looked like the moment was a little too much for him. And then you just seen him. He kind of like ducked down on him, and then Gilbert Burns, El Dorino turned on, and you just seen him for 25 minutes, step in the fucking middle of that octagon and take it to Tyron Woodley. The entire time Woodley was off of his back foot. It was an amazing performance. I want to talk about the coach. I think personally, Henry Hoof has the secret ingredients to beating Tyron Woodley. I think if you throw Vicente Luque at Woodley next, it's Woodley's last fight. I think Henry Hoof and Hard Knocks 365 have figured out the chosen one.
He definitely wrote a book about how to beat Tyron Woodley. Definitely, there's no doubt about that.
Pressure.
Listen, at the end of the day, Tyron Woodley is still a very dangerous fighter. I don't think that you can toss him any fighter and just give them the game plan.
Vicente is not any fighter.
Yeah, I agree with you. Vicente is not any fighter. And Tyron Woodley, he is getting old. He is getting old. Like, I can feel the age right now. I believe that's something, maybe because of that. I'm not sure about that, but I do believe so. He's past his prime. He's not looking as dangerous as he was.
He's not as sharp. He's not the chosen one anymore. The guy that went in there and knocked out Robbie Lawler is not the guy that we see in the octagon now. I, again, for 5 rounds, did not see Tyron Woodley at all explode. Like what we're used to, like how he won the title, like how he beat Darren Till. Though even the last round against Wonderboy in the second fight, you see Tyron he'll wait, and then Tyron will fucking explode on you. I haven't seen it in 10 rounds of MMA.
Tyron Woodley used to, when he move forward, you shit your pants because you don't know what kind of bomb he's going to drop at you. And those leg kicks. Robbie Lawler
hadn't woke up for about a year and a half after that fight.
Yeah, and those leg kicks, ask Carlos Condit about those leg kicks. Tyron Woodley was the most dangerous fighter in his division, and right now he's past his prime. I appreciate everything Tyron Woodley did for this division. He's a tremendous fighter. I hope he come back to his level. But right now, the competition, man, those new welterweight guys, they are straight killers.
What is next for El Dorino, Gilbert Burns?
Listen, there is no Leon Edwards right now.
Nate cannot make it into the country at this point in time.
Yeah, Nate is always talking about Masvidal, but there's Nate Diaz is only talk. So Masvidal right now don't really have a fight, and he didn't sign against Kamaru Usman. If I'm Gilbert, I will throw the name of Masvidal right now for Fight Island, because that's what he do. Gilbert just throw names, and then they give it to them and have nothing to lose. So a fight like Masvidal would be great for him.
I could see Usman versus Masvidal. And if they can get Leon Edwards into the States somehow, Leon Edwards versus Gilbert Burns for the #1 contender fight. Have them fight on the same exact card. And if for some reason Burns gets past Edwards and Usman gets past, you could have those two in the cage that night face off against each other. There's going to be nothing but respect. There's not going to be a situation. There will be no showman or one trying to show up the other or bad blood, because they are teammates and they're going to show you the correct way of how you're supposed to do martial arts. And I really think it would be good for the sport. I think it would be good for Hard Knocks 365, and I think it would be good for both of their careers.
But is it something that Dana White wants to see?
I have no fucking clue, nor do I give a damn at this point. Let it happen, Dana.
Listen, Dana wants to throw McGregor against Usman, so I'm not sure he doesn't want to see this.
Everyone just wants to fight McGregor, okay? I really, truly think if you give Conor McGregor to Kamaru Usman, Usman eats him the fuck alive. And I am a big Conor McGregor fan, but I think, as everyone has pointed out at this point in time, I think Usman's a favorite fighter.
I will never doubt McGregor, because every time people doubted him, he always show up. Remember when people talked about Eddie Alvarez? But I do think that Kamaru Usman is too big for him, because Kamaru in fight night, like the day of the fight, when he's in the cage, he looks like
had a hard time with Habib on top of you.
Yeah,
What the
exactly.
fuck do you think it's going to be like with a man who outweighs Habib?
Yeah, I agree with you. So next for Gilbert, if you can't bring Leon Edwards, who do you give him?
I don't know, man. Colby?
Does
I could
yeah,
see that.
Kobe would be
I
great.
could see that happening. Colby coming back, fighting. If that doesn't happen, it's got to be one of those three guys. It's got to be
Hey,
Leon
where's
Masvidal.
Bonzinibio? Where's Bonzinibio?
Bro, he hasn't
Santiago?
fought since Vietnam, bro. Like, are we still
Yeah,
talking
but
about
no,
Ponzinibbio?
no, no. But
Are we really talking about this guy
no,
right
no, no.
now?
But I want to talk about him for a minute because when he was fighting at
I
some
live with my
point, he
dad.
was right in the mix. I'm not talking about Gilbert against him, but where the fuck is he? He's really missing in this welterweight division.
Like I said, I was in my dad's nuts the last time we fought.
Did he got suspended or something?
No, bro, I don't even know where he's at. He's chilling in Chile,
Fuck,
Argentina.
he fucked up, man. He really fucked up.
He's definitely from Argentina. They're not Chile, my
He
bad.
is he's chilling in Argentina. That's a straight fact. He's
Straight
chilling
slap in
in
the face.
Argentina.
Sorry about
Yeah,
that, okay?
yeah,
But seriously, I got no clue where he is. We have, at this point, new contenders and new challengers for the
there
belt.
is exactly.
Burns, Masvidal, Edwards, those three guys are the main three guys for a title shot. You can even throw Covington and four guys. Whoever doesn't get the title shot, let the other guys fight each other.
I
And
like the
hell,
Colby fight.
if Masvidal doesn't get the title shot, give Masvidal to Nate one more time. Fuck
Yeah,
it.
the Colby Gilberts, I really like it. I believe it really makes sense.
No, for sure. Anything else on UFC Fight Night Woodley versus Burns, my man?
Overall, it was a great card. I believe the main event, a lot of people actually predicted that Gilbert Burns was going to win. I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised about that, but
Yeah.
they're surprised, but no surprise.
No, for sure.
Um,
And we gained a fight that if you're trying to show somebody who's brand new about MMA, you
Yeah.
definitely want to throw it on Billy Quarantillo versus Spike Krill. Great fight.
yeah, I agree with you. So give me your three fights, your three best fights that you
Three best.
enjoyed
I'll give
watching.
you the three best performances. Billy Quarantillo, for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go Chris Gutierrez and then Casey Kinney. Give me
Okay.
your three best performances of the night.
For sure, Gilbert. I believe Gilbert's performance was flawless. Mackenzie Dern, because it was her comeback and her jiu-jitsu game was amazing.
Knee bar.
And yeah, and I will say Caitlin Caucasian because pure dominance like that is always, it's always amazing to see.
Yes, but we totally snubbed Jamel Hill, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Sir, you had a great performance.
Yeah. Let's add the 4 fights and both of us add Jamel Hill. That's
Both
what
of
I'm
us
saying.
going with
Yeah.
Jamel Hill. So
Yeah.
that about wraps it up, guys. Stay tuned. Like us on Facebook, all that good shit. We're going to have UFC 250 breakdown probably today or tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And check us out, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It's all the same. And stay classy, knuckleheads.
Peace.